Restart. Anyways,
Awesome. Okay, let's start from the beginning, which is we've known each other forever.
yeah,
I don't even know how far we go back, but probably
I don't know. Like maybe I don't know when we first crossed our paths. It has to be online, right?
yeah. Because we don't live.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Where do you live?
Alberta, in Canada, Alberta. In what's my town here? Sherwood Park, so Edmonton. I don't even know where I live. I mean, so the last 20 minutes of trying to fix my computer has just thrown me.
Right. And,
So,
and we have like, if I check Facebook, I think we have like 80 to 100 mutual friends.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, a
real
lot
estate.
of yeah, via real estate, and we're friends. We're both friends with a ton of friends of Philip McKernan
Yeah,
and Real
yeah.
Estate Investment Network. Um,
Zabo, you know
yeah,
Zabo?
Zabo. Yeah, I had him on the podcast. Need to have him back soon. I know he's trying to do
Nice.
some pretty cool stuff. He's such a nice guy too.
Yeah.
Brilliant guy.
There's no only one
Yeah,
with that guy. He's the
yeah.
only one that's like him.
Talking about mentality, like I couldn't believe the stuff he was saying. It's like, oh, geez, Ian. If I don't, I think I mentioned this to him off the air afterwards. Like, damn it, Ian. If you just keep telling your story, people will be throwing money at you, right?
Yeah, I know, and it's totally, yeah. He's especially, I watch him. He's about to explode. So
Yeah.
he's going hardcore into the short bus.
The thing is that he could have exploded like 5 years ago if he just believed in himself. Um,
Yeah, totally. I think that's a lot of us all the same.
yeah. Like no,
Everyone
like
has
10
those.
years ago, Ian could have exploded. Like he just didn't
I think
believe in himself.
we have evolution though. There's timing. Like I think it's there's timing in everything.
Mm-hmm.
We need
Mm-hmm.
to learn lessons.
Yeah, it's just
Once
about
we learn enough lessons, and then it's almost like I don't want to be mega successful, mega famous, and all this. Like I always thought years ago, I'm like I know where I'm going, and it's going to be a public eye and all that. And I thought, like a lot of these people completely crack when they become famous, and they
mm-hmm.
crack when they get that attention,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's the characters come out, like the flaws and the characters actually come out when that happens. And I always thought, you know what? It's all good, man. Be patient because there's human development that has to happen. Like how does your ego play into being the top of the world? Can you handle that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think when it comes to Ian, he's ready. I think he can handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, 10 years ago for me, I'd be different too.
Yeah, same
So
here. How
yeah,
old are you now, Ben?
37.
37.
Yeah,
Quick side note, and then we'll get into the actual interview. Just
sure.
just just think about what you accomplished from the age 20 to 30,
Yeah,
and then what you've done from age 30 to now, and for the rest of you, till you're 40. Like
yeah,
like wow, like those my 20s were like not a waste. Like they were
no,
required to get to me to where I am, but the productivity, uh, the returns have been significantly better post age 30. From
yeah.
knowing a bit about your story, I think you're along that same line.
Well, I've been crazy high performer since 20 though. Like I
Okay, let's
once
start.
when
Let's
I
start then. Okay,
you know
start. What age? What age should we start at? Should we start at age
well
20?
I don't know. Like I think 20 I was just, let's see here, I was still working at the rehab center I graduated from after 365 days in there. And so I was 18, I was 17 to 18, spent 365 days in a drug alcohol treatment center.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my 18th birthday there, and then I left around, but I came back and worked there for a few years. So in
Mm-hmm.
that time, so early 20s I was there, but then I got headhunted by a commercial office furnishings company as a sales guy, and I was like 10 years too young for my business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 10 years too young for that industry. Like we had AutoCAD drawers, designers, they would actually do building the furniture. It's pretty high end.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up finding I was always good at sales. I ended up selling $2.5 million of office furniture.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the crazy thing. There's just like this kamikaze. This is the 20s. It's kamikaze. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like now I have 5 kids and I'm like, I know the difference. Like it's funny, I analyze risk differently. It's almost like when you're those years, it's like who fucking cares? Because
Yeah.
it's like, so I
No
quit
more
my
money
job
than I know what to do
two and a
with.
half years in the business. I quit selling office furniture. Says I'm gonna be a real estate investor, and I just went for the money and I bought like 41 properties in 14 months and just went absolutely crazy building a real estate investment company. But so
Okay.
that was my 20s. I was just absolutely blindly driven.
Okay. Let's go back.
Sure.
It's kind of like that Seinfeld episode, like how Elaine yada 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 sex, but that's not this case. You kind of like you didn't quite
Yeah,
say
yeah,
yada
yeah.
yada yada, but you almost like yada 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 the whole
Yeah, there's
rehab
a
thing.
lot. There's a lot of years, a lot of stories in there.
What caused you to end up in rehab?
Jeez, just you know what? Growing up, I guess I feel like as a kid, if you're doing a poker analogy, I got dealt a two and a seven,
Hmm.
and I had to try to win the game that way. And I didn't have any like I had a yeah like home life was just my dad was just a he was a really good guy, but totally broken from his own father, like the generational patterns.
Hmm.
Just to understand that, like as a kid, I didn't feel loved and valued, and yeah, I couldn't figure it out, and it was very traumatic the way I was living. Like super loved, and then like almost like a bipolar relationship with my dad. I don't know if what he has. Like I just actually went out for coffee with him today, and we have a fairly good relationship, and we're
Hmm.
still building on it. But yeah, like I lived on the streets when I was like I took off when I was 12 years old. I literally had this
12.
weird yeah I had this old thought. It was like there's an old soul, whatever that means. I don't even know what that means, but it felt like I'm sitting there and I'm just maybe it's just my intelligence or something. I'm just like if I stay here, I'm gonna be like my dad. I'm gonna be like these guys. And I knew from the core, I'm like, I'm not like this. I'm a real good dude. And I feel like if I keep staying in this pattern, I'm going to be them. So at 12, I stole some money from my dad. He used to preach at an old folks' home, and all their offerings to God, I took those. And I called a cab, and I lied to the cab and says, "Yeah, you know what? I'm just meeting my friend. My dad gave me some money. I don't know what the cabbie was thinking, a 12-year-old kid, but he took me into town, and I started running away from home. So it was a series of running away from home, and then until finally I was pretty angry and troublesome at that time, but ended up getting kicked out. My parents didn't welcome me back. So 14, 15, 16, had to figure out how to live, had to live on the streets, and I was pretty innovative. But what's interesting is that the residue left from that is that it's hard not to look at relationships from a survival mentality. And this is something new I've just started to learn now. It's like, how do I position myself with relationships? And it's like you position yourself not to be stolen against, you position yourself not to be hurt,
Hmm.
you position yourself to manipulate and leverage,
Hmm.
and you just start looking at this honestly. And I could never look at this honestly now. I feel like I've got self-awareness and authenticity for real, but it's like, or as much as I can at this point in my life. But I feel like that residue is like you meet people, and there's this the tie to the story. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, like living as a survivor, and how has that affected me today? So anyway, that's like current news for me right now. Just looking at how does the survival of a child as a teen affect my relationships with my wife, kids, business, real estate,
Yeah.
mentoring people. Like the survival instinct shows up, and it can come across as manipulative.
Yeah.
It can come across as maneuvering people to do what they want,
Yeah.
or not letting them totally in because it's not safe. So I think there's a lot of people like it's so amazing how your story actually affects your business. I'm obsessed with that. I'm obsessed with it. So, anyways, I'm kind of going way off into a rabbit hole here, but so you asked me one question. You're like, well, why the heck do you get into rehab? So, well, the story is pretty straightforward. One night I was out of mushrooms, cocaine. I was drinking. I
Hmm.
had rented a basement suite. I
Hmm.
always made money. That's one thing I always made money, even back in the day. And one day I was just so high and I was hallucinating, and something just pulled on my heart and says, "Go home." It was the craziest thing. So I don't know if it was the drugs or if it was some spiritual guidance, but I called the cabbed it back to my parents' house. It was like 3 in the morning. I barely remember getting there. I'm standing at the door, knocking on the door, and my mom came downstairs, and she goes, "What are you doing here?" And she's a mom, right? So she's always that's her boy. And I think my dad had given up on me. He's rejected me at this point. He didn't even come to see me. He just stayed in bed. And I sat on the stair. I threw about $1,000 cash on the floor. I said, "Mom, I got cash. I got money." I said, "But look at my eyes. I'm really high right now." And I said, "I'm empty. I'm so empty and broken." I said, "To be honest, I just really want to die. That's my plan. I'm going to die." And she says, "There's a place called Teen Challenge, and there's like this. It's a hyper Christian, one of the largest nonprofits in the world. And it's. I went to this ranch. I thought I'm going to do this one time. I'm going to give it one chance, and if I can find wholeness," and I said, "I'll give it everything. Like I'm not going to mess around. If this is going to help me, I'm going to give it because I wanted to live, right?" So yeah, and I went to this program, and It was totally weird. When you wake up in the morning, you got to do dishes, you got to do devotions, you got to study, you got to do work detail. It's like jail for 365 days, self-inflicted. You have to work at a store for free, then you got to make dinner, then you got to clean up, then you got to do devotions, you got to like it was just like this 365 days of rehab. But it was very more spiritual essence versus just tactical stuff. I think there's definitely pros and cons to that. And that was my start of my turn. So when I turned 18, I felt like, okay, it actually worked. It was definitely a start of something. So anyways, that's so that's not about real estate or anything, but that's kind of a bit of an origin story there.
Looking back, what was it that helped about it? Was it being
Being in the
clean?
program.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think deep down I was just a little boy hurting. So my story is that I just wanted to die, so depressed and angry, and I don't know exactly. I think I wanted it so
Mm-hmm.
bad to be normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing was missing. They didn't teach self-value, and they taught like your values in God and stuff. And I feel like there's a big miss because I find like my wholeness comes from finding myself having value, and that wasn't taught in that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something I'll do in the later years. To be honest, I don't know what it worked. I think going away for a whole year was huge, and obviously, they taught about everything was like almost Christian. It was, and so was it a God thing? Was it real? Probably. Do I know anything about that too much? Not really, not really. But so I don't know. I think I found stability. I found some routine,
Mm-hmm.
but then it was afterwards. I had to figure it out. I had a good chance at it. I feel like I'm a lucky guy, man. Lucky guy. A lot of my friends don't make it. They still. I saw one guy the other day, just by chance, ran into this guy. He's got missing teeth. Looks like a big bag of shit. Just the worst looking. He looks at, hey Ben, how you doing, man? I'm like, oh, and I don't know what my face was like, so I'm like, holy shit, like that could have been me.
Yeah.
And I just have just unreal compassion for this, and then just seeing it. So, what worked? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's hard to answer. Like, there's no silver bullet. It's almost beat the odds, really.
Thinking back, what would you have told 12-year-old yourself? Say you're the dad, and
Yeah.
your kid is 12-year-old Ben. What do you tell him? What does he need? What is he missing that he needs to be
I
taught?
think I think at that point at 12, it'd be a very difficult conversation with me at that point. Even I
8, 4.
think you'd have to go back a bit. Um, yeah, if I was the dad to me, I would know how to love him. I would know exactly what to give him.
Mm-hmm.
That he would feel valuable. I'd show him who he was. I would treat him with respect. I would let him have whatever belief and whatever voice he has, and I would also encourage him to break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing I when it comes to kids, they're so they're so stuck in the fucking rules. Like, make sure you go to school, make sure you follow the grades, keep up to the standards.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you believe, whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's like I would just say believe whatever you want, and I have your back.
Mm-hmm.
I truly will have your back. I will always accept you. Do whatever you want in your life. And I'd love to see you break the rules and be a pioneer. And if you want to follow a certain path, I got your back. And he would just always feel safe with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what it is. I've actually done a lot of that inner work, speaking to my own little child. So I have some extremely powerful experiences like that I've gone through. So my first time I ever talked about that was pretty amazing. So, but I would just love them. So I know how to do that now that I have kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my mini me would be very loved and accepted and valued. It would be allowed to do whatever he wants. I wouldn't put him in a direction that he needs to go. And I think that's the biggest mistake parents make. They say, well, you need to do this. If you don't get your work ethic,
Mm-hmm.
or you better have a trade to back you up if this thing doesn't work, or
Mm-hmm.
you need a degree. And
Mm-hmm.
in our family, that there is F that.
Yeah.
That is not how to raise a child. So that's obviously I got some energy around that, but
Yeah. Yeah. I think our parents just did the best with what they could. Because I think
yeah.
the first objective of any parent is to do better than their parents did. So for some, I was talking to my friend Michael Liano, who's going on vacation in Sault Ste. Marie, which is way the hell north, and how he's saying how his parents are Italian. Obviously, they don't have internet. Those are his words. Right? They're Italian
Exploited
immigrants.
system, yeah.
Obviously, they don't have internet. Like, that's what he's come. That's his
It's his
upbringing,
belief.
right?
Yeah.
So what can they teach you about that whole world of digital marketing, whatever? But yeah,
Yeah.
just do better than what your parents did, and that's a good
Yeah.
first step.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And my dad did, because it was way less worse than what he went through. And
Mm-hmm.
he's got a good soul. He just doesn't have as much balls as I do to face the reality of who I really am,
Mm-hmm.
which is challenging everything, even your faith.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
So yeah, you did some investing. I wrote down 41 properties in 14 months. What drove that?
well, that's again, it comes back to your story. When you're not loved and respected, and
Yeah.
one thing you find is when people give you a positive, like I've had a lot of negative reactions to life, and then when someone's like positively, like this is like we're talking years of therapy here. This isn't just self-discovery overnight. Like we're talking like you want the deep question or the real question, and we sort of the surface or the real, and the real is that just driven to make my dad happy or prove, and if he's not going to be happy, well, it's just ironic that he was a financial planner. And I just look back and go, I wonder how much I subconsciously was like, you know what, I'll beat him at his own game. And honestly, it wasn't there like that. Like I know now that, wow, I wonder if that's deep down what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and what is really motivating me was, first of all, I want to be number one. And that was a real curse I'd had most of my life. And I always would hit it. But there was always a price to pay for being number one.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned. To be honest, I became number one very quickly in the selling office furniture. I sold chocolate bars as a kid, dominated every single place I would. There was only, but the self-acceptance was only number one or you're nothing. And so that drove me hard. And money was a real representation of success. So I would just say, okay, great. I'm going to go after as much money. Dude, I had 61 properties and I'm like, this is not enough. Like I'm looking, like I had 1,000 in my mind. Not like I don't just go by number one. I go by like it's, so I feel like there's a really good thing that's left over with me. Like I can perform.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it like that other guys don't even compete with. But the thing is, I'm really connected to what I really want in life. And I think that's the thing. The motivation to buy as many properties as I could was just absolute dominance. I just wanted to be number one, and just I couldn't accept myself unless I was the highest. And there's always a higher goal and always a higher goal. And I was
Mm-hmm.
just chasing it.
So what happened to the portfolio? What year was that? What year did you?
Uh, I started investing 2005, 6, 7 on a small scale. When I really jumped in, it was I don't even know 2006. I think was really when I said, okay, I quit my job. Like I just can't imagine. Like I just quit it. Like I'm like, okay, don't worry, I'll do it. I'll figure it out. Like just absolute entrepreneur, but it's a little bit unwise to be honest. But I did, and I had 4 different cities. I had just it was so much. I had people working for me, but yeah, it was really great. And then 2008, 9, 10. So 2008 was half decent still, but once you started, what was it? 2008 June, and that's when like it was almost hard. And anyone can like the shame that I've had to carry, but I've let it go because you're investing people's money, and when things are really good, fuck, you're a genius.
Yeah.
The best thing to describe my company was when the water went out, you see who's swimming naked. Warren Buffett's quote. And in one level, I had a lot of really good stuff, like everything cash flowed. It wasn't buying stupid stuff like that. But then we started like we bought this one, like we started picking off developers that were going to go under. So these are condo converters. So what happened was they got greedy too. So what they did was they flipped one. They're like, wow, made like $3 million. Let's do 5 more. What are we doing? Bam, bam, bam. And then the crash hit. And I know some of these developers. I come on with my group of investors. I said, here's the deal. I'll buy 20 right now. But this is how the deal is going to go. And we structured the deal to be, it was the most craziest winning deal, easy to sell. My investors got their places fully renoed. I got them renoed. And we got, I won't go into the deep structure of the whole thing, but the thing is there's a lot of money that we were making on buying them and holding them. And I was 50-50 on all of them. And so we were picking up stuff 50, 60, 70 grand under value, which we thought were geniuses. There's one project that still is underwater because the prices were boomed in condos here. And it's like, it's now come back. And that's how long it's taken. Specifically, there was one project that was think we were buying them at like 250 and they were appraised at 300. And we're sitting there going, guys, this is 50 grand under. They all cash flow. So I picked up 10 of them.
Hmm.
The crash happens a year later. Those are the ones that got hit the hardest. Now, I think I just sold one 220. We're talking 10 years later, right? And so that like I'm early 20s, high performer, super insecure, haven't done a lot of personal work to the level I've done now. The intensity of having people come to you that they have problems in their finances because of the crash, and they come to you and say, I want my money. And I say, I can't give it to you. Like, just like, I think I can handle it now. I'd be like, dude, you made the call. Like, I'd be like, you made the call, you knew the risk, we got to work this out, but we're in to get like, now I was like, oh my goodness, like I just as an early investor just couldn't
Hmm.
handle so many people mad at the process. And honestly, like I've talked to lots of them now, and it's like it was situational, right? Like the investments were good. It's not like we were buying junk. No one was ripped off. Everything was really good.
Yeah.
But the process of having 25 investors during a crash was so like, and then my weak points in my company started showing. We were heavy on the marketing, heavy on the sales, getting deals together. We had great joint venture documentation, and everything. But then it came to like bookkeeping, reporting. Started looking at that, going, oh geez. So it cost me literally tens of thousands of dollars to try to figure out how to, during that process, it wasn't done. I hired the wrong girl. She had no clue. I'm a young businessman, put the wrong person in place thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just trust her,
Hmm.
which is a big mistake.
Yeah.
And then I also I brought a partner in. I won't go into the details of that. But the thing is, I eventually fired this lady. And this process of like learning how to do business was probably the most learning. Like I feel lucky that I've gone through that pain. There was days I was sitting there, like one guy just calls me and goes, hey Ben, I want you to give me my property back, and he knew a couple points that I was trying to like avoid securities and different things. I didn't have anything to worry about, but it was in my head because I had created investments that were potentially questionable if it was a security. As you probably know, a JV is odd. And so I paid $10,000 to get my joint venture, probably similar joint venture you use. If as I got it reviewed, and the determination from the law firm that I paid 10 grand for was there's no guarantee that this is not a security because you're an expert and you're running the show. They're not experts. You're taking their money. You're bringing in an investment. It literally looks like a security, but it's not. And so this is something I got really scared of being a young businessman. I didn't have good mentorship around me, and the crash was happening. Had a guy call me, goes, and my ex-partner knew that secret in my heart that I was like, oh man, like it was all crashing around me, and I'm just like, the securities, oh man, if they came at me now, what do I say? I just spent 10 grand to check if it's right. I spent $10,000 just to see if it's right, and they said, you know what? We don't know. Like it looks a security pop. We just can't guarantee one way or the other. I'm like, oh, thanks. So I thought if I ever got like now you get into that what if happens. So now I'm scared. I don't know what's going on. The world's falling apart. Like I've got all this property and all these demands, and no one's investing anymore. Now that's where the income was coming in. We're bringing in investments. We'd always take some money through the investment, and it was really cool setup until this happened. And that one guy blackmailed me. He calls me, hey, I'm going to go to securities with you, Ben. Goes right at me. I'm like, how the hell do you even know this? And I found out it was a really good friend of my ex-partner. And they said, this is how you're going to get your property. This was one of my best properties, 1,300 square foot with basement, 4-level splits in an area of Edmonton that was just gold. And I stole it. We were making, I don't know, $2,000 a month on cash flow. And it was just, we renovated all of them. At the end of the day, I called my lawyer because I recorded the call. The guy blackmailing me, and he's like, well, I can't use the call, but you got two options. You can fight him, or you can let him have it. And at the time, I think he paid me $4 grand for some expenses, and I walked. So those are like those are moves that are like, those are like life-changing moves. I remember sitting at my desk crying my eyes out, just not knowing what to do. And the thing is, now if I went through that whole process now or today, I would have pulled it all off, no problem. But when you have it's so fast, you grew so fast,
Hmm.
and it was so easy,
Hmm.
and then no experience at all in dealing with this type of thing, which even the best of them, there's people that killed themselves, man, over the crash.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to navigate this thing, and I'm on my own, and I'm insecure, and I just want to make people happy. It's like my story just haunted me with how I managed the
Hmm.
process. So now today I have about, what do I got now? When I left that, I ended up with 10 of my own. I had 10 properties of my own. I'm down to 7 or no, 8 of my own now. And yeah, I'm renovating one up in Hinton, putting another 5-7 grand into it. These are good properties. Looking at the pay down now, I'm like, this is awesome, man. Like, we're paying these things down,
Mm-hmm.
get cash flow. I still got 2 dogs in my portfolio. They're just dogs. I mean, it cost me $100 a month. Can't do nothing about it. We bought them and just crashed. That was right at the peak. So most people that have invested have awesome ones and have a couple that are challenging. I can't sell them, so we just keep renting it. I take a loss on my portfolio is winning though. I got a good portfolio, but those are 2 dogs. So yeah, it was a very, very challenging process. So I sold some properties back to a lot of my investors. I gave them great deals. I met with every single one of my investors face to face, told them what's going on. I said, guys, I'm going to have to make a change. This is something that's happening. Sat down with them. I showed them all their financials and everything. I said, look, here's what the thing's worth. I'll give you a discount. Buy me out for this much. You take over. You get 100% of the equity. And I walked and I did that to every single investor.
Right.
And there was a couple that were more like, probably only like 2 or 3 were like hyper aggressive because their own financial mutual fund portfolio was just screwed. And they were thinking the real estate was going to save them. And it was also stuck. Nothing selling. So I had 2 or 3 I liquidated, a couple and the rest I sold. So by the way, I've never shared the inner story of that my entire life. Just, heard how it actually went down. People just see, oh, wow, we had lots of real estate investment. Wow.
That's the cool thing about the podcast is to, when do you have like an hour to talk about yourself? I think about that. When's the last time you had an hour to talk about yourself?
Yeah, I probably talk about myself quite a bit, but no, but yeah, no, like, yeah, for sure. When you interview and you kind of break it down
Uh-huh.
and podcasts are cool because we don't realize we're putting this out there. Just me and you hanging out. So that's my favorite thing about podcasting is when you're talking to people, it's like, to just look at them, right? And you don't even know. It looks like me and you're just having a chat. Like, oh yeah, we're recording this and millions of people will be seeing this. Great. You know what I mean?
I don't know about million.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for, right? Million? No.
So go back to the securities partner guy. What would you have done differently today?
Well, I tell him to go ahead and call him. Bring it on, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would have been shut down. He was bullying me. And so being bullied in school just brought back all my story. And how do you deal with that? I don't know. Now I can. I'd be confident. I would be like, hey, here's the story, man. We're in this together. We've got a fantastic investment. There's absolutely no reason for you to be bought out. I'm keeping this thing. And we're going to run it together. And then I would have ran it. But I was so just lost under this pressure without mentorship, without guidance, and just no clue. And I built this thing so freaking big in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many millions of dollars of real estate happened? And I'm managing it. And it's like, then you get into this world of doubting yourself. And I just wouldn't doubt myself. That's the one thing that's cost me more money in my life than ever is just doubting myself.
How'd you get over it?
Well, you have enough pain and lessons, and I'm 150% committed to getting through shit in my life. So I don't care if people see me buck naked, totally embarrassed. If it gets me over something, I'll fucking do it. Like, I don't care. Like, that's one thing about me is I'll just do whatever. Like, I've got more, I don't mean to Gary V and brag about myself and be like, I got more balls than the average guy when it comes to personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do whatever it takes.
And you've come a long way. So you've come a long way, and I want our listeners to understand that. So, like, I know people don't like the bragging about themselves, but I invite you to tell us what you've accomplished. Because I've like, again, we've been Facebook buddies forever, and I see all the stuff that you've gotten, all the awards you've collected. Could you name off some of them?
Yeah, there's 2 worlds, right? There's the public world, and then there's what really is important to me. Yeah. So the words are not really important to me. They actually don't mean very much. But I don't know. I started I was a business coach. After that, I redeveloped my life, and I went into I coached energy companies. I coached videographers, and I just coached everyone. And it was kind of finding my groove. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like, when you coach when you've gone through something you've overcome, there's something cool about helping someone overcome the same thing or something similar. Through this journey of self-development, I've learned one of the biggest things I've ever accomplished is I can read people really well, but it's not just like I can read someone in and out, but there's a soul part of it that's just absolutely cool once you become I'm not arrived, man. Don't ever think I've ever arrived. I've got so much. I've got my insecurities. I've got my stuff I still work on too. But the reality is I can see people for who they really are. That is the biggest thing that the biggest accomplishment is I can look at someone and I'm like, hey, here's how if I can just help them. If they let me and I can see who they are. And I can help them believe in themselves. And I can show them who they are, how to get over it. I've just had so much dysfunction. But that's a side thing. The thing is, though, I became a real estate agent. I asked 12 realtors if I could coach them, and they all agreed. So I don't know how I convinced them. I got 12 real estate agents. I started a real estate launch program, and I had never launched as a real estate agent. I said, well, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to launch, and you're going to see it live happen. And they obviously believe in me, and I did. I met once a week at the real estate board, and I rented a room, had 12 people, and some of them today are still way on top of their game. Most of them got impacted in forever through that course. But I started, and I became. So I had a few months before I made 50 grand from like September to December. But then my first calendar year, I made $440,000 in commissions and became easily rookie of the year for the whole area. And then the next year I made $660,000. I made over $1 million my first 2 calendar years as a real estate agent, and it was very easy. The only thing is it would take a lot of hustle, a lot of work and commitment. During that process, like I've made millions of dollars. I've only been a real estate agent for about 5 years now. And now I have a team of 4 working for me. I've created a team model that is absolutely not heard of. We can go into the details of that if you really want. But that model is just absolutely working. It's based out of human development, mentorship, sales, marketing. But it's the people that come on my team, I'm not hunting for them. I give them a piece of my commissions if they bring on someone that we can work with that is really fit. Our culture is absolutely number one. The culture is world-class client experience, and we brag about the world-class client experience. We never brag about commissions. There's a whole bunch of cultural things in there that we've developed a system as a team that is like it's working. It is working so good, but it is the right personnel. So yeah, and I built a national real estate coaching programs. And I know I've been paid pretty good money to be speaking on stage, so I got a bit of a speaking business running. But mentoring real estate agents, and it's not even real estate agents, it's just people. Real estate was just strategy, just to get to people, to be honest. Mm-hmm. My talent is sales and marketing, but awesome. They got like a serious muscle girl, so I just revving it up. Could you hear that?
Yeah.
Nice. So that's my gut. I'm hungry. Anyways, so no, with the no, like I've I don't know, Titan Award for Remax is always just on, it's over 800,000. Like it's consistently we're probably going to break $1 million this year, and I'm honestly barely selling. I'm hoping to do like 30% of all the sales, and then next year 2019 I won't be selling at all, and I'll be moving into more of a personal growth angle. So all I can say is that the successes, I got lots of awards for real estate. They don't mean much to me. The biggest, the thing, this is the thing. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but during the process of me winning all these awards and hitting these high marks, again, it's stuff that I just do. Like if I want to go number one, I do. And it's just like you just figure it out. The thing is, though, during that process of going after it so hard as a real estate agent and a coach at the exact same time, running retreats, like the stuff that I can do is just unreal, the amount of stuff I can get done. Thing is, though, by doing that and going after number one, my wife and I almost got a divorce during this time. A couple of years ago, she just sat down one day and she says, I think I'm done. And I started crying. I said, are you kidding me? I'm doing it all for you. I'm doing it all for you. And she's like, Ben, I've been following you around through this journey, and I've got your back this whole time. And she says, but I can't keep doing this anymore. So that's the thing. When I'm popular, everyone thinks I'm amazing. This is what's happening behind the scenes. Yep. And I love sharing that. I actually don't like sharing it, but I love sharing it for one reason, because let's not put people on pedestals. Don't fucking put anyone on a pedestal. The shit that's going on behind the scenes is just the same shit you're facing. They're just really good at the persona thing. And I'd rather break that mold. If you don't like me for who I am, F it. I can't live that way, man. And so I took a couple of years, did sales, just did a basic coaching program, and I worked on my marriage. And we hired a relationship coach, Kelsey Grant, who I'm doing a lot of live coaching with now on my podcast. And so we're doing that. Like the healing that my wife and I went through, the understanding how men and women work, understanding like what she really needs. And was I really doing it for my family? That's a really good question. I think I was like, I'm a really good dude that way, but I was doing it for me. What was I chasing? And she just was following me around. But her issue was that she didn't speak up the way she needed to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was her stuff she had to work on. And all of a sudden she had a voice. Like, what the frick's this? Like, it's like you want that, but you don't want it. So
Yeah.
I just really want to paint the picture that like I hit mega success on everything I do, but there's a story that if that other story doesn't align with that, I think it's a waste. Like if you don't have a good family, like what's your day like when your wife's really angry at you or yeah, that's just you have this fight, you're just not jiving. You're
Mm-hmm.
not getting the am I giving my wife what she needs? Is she giving me what I need? Like is there a communion happening? Do my kids really excited to see me when I get home? Truly. Am I like that is like without that, what's $1 million? It's like I've given up and it's like gone. I don't care. How's your day like when that sucks? Nothing really matters. Nothing grooves. It's like, unless you don't want wife and kids, then you shouldn't have had that. But if you know what I mean, when your personal relationships are sucking, business doesn't feel so good.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. It's pretty deep. Thank you for sharing. Where do we go? What year was this? And I've explained this to my team as well. So both you and I, we both have teams, and I've explained this to my team
Yeah.
as well. And actually, I'll make them listen to this because I've mentioned to all of them divorce rate in the real estate industry is actually pretty high from what I can see.
Oh, totally.
Among my investment clients, I see. I don't know if it's apparent because I see it. I don't know
Yeah.
how it compares to the population, but among agents, definitely see it. People think this business is easy. We make lots of money. They don't understand. We give up a
No.
lot of evenings and weekends to make this happen. Uh,
Yeah, that's a huge commitment. And the truth is, if you really want to get going in real estate, get ready. You got to commit to the insane amount of pressure and real estate push for a year or two. And you got to do the right things, or else you're going to constantly need to restart. This is like this is the one reason why I'm motivated to help real estate agents, is because the restart sucks. How many guys have I like right now? It's like if you can just get to the referral base, if you can get to the place, and that's world-class client experience, you blow their mind, you take care of them. You have to make them absolute raving fans, and there's
Mhm.
many ways to do that. Instead of saying, how do we prospect? I want to say, how do we blow their minds so their head pops off? They go to their friends and say, fire that realtor and hire Ben.
Mhm.
That's my goal.
Mhm.
Because then it's focused on client experience. The Remax, the roll the page, the entire industry is built to say, how much money are you making compared to me? The entire celebration of a fucking award is how much money you made compared to me.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, where is let's celebrate how many times you got shouted out on Facebook, Instagram, that you're an amazing agent.
Mhm.
What if our focus was to create that conversation behind our backs? Like, this is where we're obsessed. This is the secret. You want to dominate the real estate business?
Mhm.
Red carpets, gifts, personalized, like obviously world-class service. I don't even think you need to be that smart as a real estate agent. I don't even think you need data. Like people are so heavy on data. When you walk in there, you're a data guy, but they'll like me better, so they'll take me. Like, and I've self-awareness is one of the biggest competitive edges you can have in business
Mhm.
because you walk in and you see what they need.
Mhm.
They see those like the personal languages they speak. If you could kind of communicate in a language that they understand, not changing who you are, but just learning just how to do that.
Mhm.
I get so fired up in this industry because this industry is annoying. It's it's super annoying because there's such amazing agents in a system that's archaic, where they're celebrating how much money you make every month, and we're going to post it everywhere. And you're number four. Well, no one knows it's because, oh, he made money and I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, this whole thing just irks me. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's me, if it's tied to my story. How do you feel about that? Like, do you
I
see that? Or am I just, I'm usually a little more extreme, but
I'll start with an example. You see it all the time, like bench ads and bus stop ads, like number one for whatever.
yeah,
Like, what does that mean to the customer?
exactly.
To me, you're just bragging you're a volume person. Like, what's in it for the customer? You've completely forgotten about that.
The whole industry is not about, that's a whole industry is about promoting your face,
Yeah.
getting as much exposure as you can,
Yeah.
and they spend all their money, mindset, everything on that.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to the experience you give your clients, like if I sat down and did a consultation with a team or with a mortgage, with even a broker or even just an agent, I'm just to look at your experience you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find out what experience you're getting and how do we raise that bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's you know.
Can you go tell us about the red carpet and the gifts? Because I've seen the red carpet. I'm sure there's some people on this podcast who aren't familiar with your stuff.
Yeah, sure. No,
go into some of the stuff that you blow people's minds with. Because even though we're talking about agents and stuff, I think some of this can be applied to people who are trying to raise capital, for example, or in business in general, just to attract clients.
The fundamentals of what I teach has nothing to do with real estate. Mm-hmm. It's with human connection. It truly is how do you connect to the human? How do you leave a mark? And how do you and that's where sales, marketing, and communication comes in. It can be everywhere. So it's blow your mind. No, like for example, if you go to, let's just say you go to buy a suit. Like, let's go see. Like, I would say, okay, if it was me selling you a suit and I'm a suit salesman, I go, how could I get you to walk out of that door with your mind blown and the conversation to the point where you almost want to stop a guy in the mall and say, go talk to this Ben guy. You need a suit? I would create that. So my question is, we start from that. Let's go see, is that happening? Well, how do we create that in whatever business you do, even in your podcast? I can't tell everyone what I'm doing behind the scenes because it's secret. Mm-hmm. But on my podcast, like there's some really, my goal is that every guest says that the conversation around my podcast is like, holy shit. Well, oh man, did you see what Ben did when he put me on the podcast? Oh my goodness. Like I'm just constantly thinking. So yes, it goes across the board on any business there is. So in real estate, I said, how can we, first of all, it has to not be just tactics, okay? Don't get me ever wrong. I'm not just a tactics guy. I'm more of a heart guy than you can ever imagine. Like tears come, like emotions come. As you see, I'm pretty intense. But the thing is, by the way, I can't help that. Anyways, the thing is though, I thought, what's it like to get the experience, what's it like to get a house? Like you just got to connect to that experience emotionally, which is very challenging for some people. Like to get a house, the stress, the process, wow. And then it's like, yeah, here's your keys. Or in your area, hey, the keys are at your lawyer's office. That's what? When I was doing a workshop in Toronto, I was like, you guys know what I mean? You go pick up the keys and what? You in your area, man, has the biggest advantage ever. You'll see Justin McClintock, we got, there's a few different guys I've coached. You'll start seeing the red carpet, and now guess what? Massive advantage. The red carpet is this. If you get there, you roll out a red carpet. I got 2 metal stanchions. I've got a velvet rope, and we put the sold slider on there. And I'm sitting in my car, and I want to see the reaction just because it's fun. Here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Yeah, they're like, what the fuck? This is amazing. We got champagne. We toast to the thing, and I've got a very highly, highly customized gift because I listen to the people. So the psychology is that I listen to them. Most people aren't listened to. So as soon as you meet someone and you're showing houses or you meet with them, think, what's the gift? What's the gift? What's the gift? When my guys come up to me and go, Ben, I got a closing tomorrow. What's the gift? I said, you missed the mark. You completely missed it. Now, eventually, they're starting going, Ben, I met this new client. I already know what I'm getting them for their closing. Now, if you want to look at law of attraction, we're already knowing it's going to be closed. So you create the energy of knowing it's already a done deal because you've got the gift. So there's a little bit of law of attraction strategy as well going, we're already, if the deal's done, we just got to go through the process. Not I hope they stick with me. See the energy difference? I'm going to get them a gift. So there's a lot of energy management and creation, and it goes into a knowing. So if you live like you're a winner, you're going to win. You live like you're trying not to lose, you're going to lose. And so this is why we go, what's your gift? So one girl says, I'm showing these properties, one of my new agents, and she says, oh, it's so awesome. I already know what I'm going to get her. She's brand new on my team, so she's getting it, right? Oh, they mentioned a tractor seat. There was a stool with a tractor seat. They said they've been looking everywhere for them. Now, if she didn't have that attention to what we're all about, she would have missed it. Now I said, never mention that seat again. Never mention the tractor seat ever again in your life. You have to pretend you didn't hear it, nothing, and start looking and get one ordered. And so now guess what? When they have that tractor seat after the red carpet, what's the conversation happening? Oh man, I can't believe you remember. And that's what we wanted, compound. And we have 3 or 4 different strategies for aftercare that keeps that conversation going. Birthdays, we send a magnet of their picture of themselves in front of their house with the red carpet in the next quarter. So then you don't want to picture you. Please don't tell me. Actually, don't tell me if you do. But do not put your picture on a fridge magnet. It's not what they want. Do you know what they want on their fridge? A picture of themselves. And then they'll say, if you have a picture of yourself with them, or even just say a little sold sign or something, people are going to know what that fridge magnet is. If you just have themselves in front of their house saying, yay, I bought a house, and you're nowhere in it, it creates a conversation around the picture. Hey, what's this? But if it has you on it, you killed the conversation because, oh, that's the real estate. And it's dead. So do you understand? I'm trying to show you the thinking around how to blow the client's mind so it creates an amazing conversation times 10. You can up that. Then you're going to build a massive following, a good referral base. So the red carpet is just, that's what it is. They get the keys, but we make a real big deal out of it. I was thinking of bringing like a marching band. I'm trying to up the game, man. I was thinking like, if you want, like, let's just imagine, no, think about the marketing behind this. Play with me. We get a marching band because deep down he was an old school marching band. I looked for the story. Let's imagine. The guy was the drummer and he goes, oh yeah, that's my drum there. I was in a marching band. Oh, no way. Did you like it? Oh man, I loved it. Okay, just imagine that happens. It hasn't. I'm waiting for it, by the way. And then what I'm going to do is talk to a school, give them a donation and say, I need you to walk down the street for his thing. Bum, 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 bum. And every single person in the street is going to come out of their house and watch a key release with a marching band. Now, you tell me that. You go to Instagram the crap out of that. You do that. And guess what happens? You get a sale out of that. Someone on the street's going, I want this guy. Or they're going to say, holy shit, I don't want that guy because he's bringing a marching band. But you get my point.
Obvious question. What's your Instagram?
Instagram? Oh, it's just at Ben Oosterveld. So what's that little mark at Ben Oosterveld? Is that what it is?
I'll look I'll make sure I have it.
My podcast is Business from Within, but that's where more the life and business versus just like very, very little real estate on that one. But
that's your Instagram account for the podcast?
No, Ben Oosterveld's a way to connect with me, but I also have a Business from Within podcast. It's just strictly a lot of the podcast stuff. But Ben Oosterveld, even Facebook's good. Ben Oosterveld. Instagram and Facebook's who I am. Yeah.
Very cool. And for anyone who's listening, like, yes, we are both real estate agents, but this can be applied to pretty much any business, including for those of you who are just looking to even raise capital. I think that's kind of what you want to have raving capital partners.
Raising money is super easy.
Super easy. Hear that, folks? Super easy.
And
follow this formula. Yeah.
Well, they make it so you make it too official.
Yeah.
It's just people do it on, like, the biggest deals are done on a napkin because they like you and they trust you. So the goal is human connection. The goal is understanding yourself. You understand is confidence by understanding yourself. You get into there. It's an energy thing for someone that's going to lend you money. And if you want to analytically show them why, that's going to be a brutal investor because you're going to analytically have to show them for every single thing they'll go the way. Then they're going to trust your analytics, or are they going to trust you? Very subtle, right? Because you are so analytics are part of it. But you got to know how to connect, truly connect. That's when you know their family. That's when you have empathy for their situations. There's something about understanding human connection. I do a training on psychological languages. That has been one of the most powerful trainings I've ever done in my life. And that's just understanding there's 16 different languages. If I'm speaking to an introvert, am I speaking to a sensing type who's a hyper detailed? Am I speaking to someone that's a logical mind where I have to prove my credibility, or am I dealing with someone that's a feeling type who I need to connect with my values? But understanding within a 1 or 2 sentences, I know what I'm doing. And then instantly they go, oh, this guy gets me. By the way, I'm raising money. By the way, I need this. By the way, I'm doing an interview to get a job. It just is the core fundamentals is how to understand yourself and how to connect with a human being. People spend so much time building a sales package to raise funds.
Right.
If you spent the same amount of time understanding yourself, understand how to connect with someone so they can see who you really are, people just throw money at you if you understand that.
Right. And then the step before that is like building yourself.
What do you mean by that? Building yourself?
As in, so I'm not, again, tips and tricks, but more about believing in yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which is so cliche now, hey? Everyone wants to believe in themselves now, and it's almost become pop culture about, love myself, put myself first. I'm going to do yoga today. And like some of these people are not growing, but they're doing the right things. So I find that having someone challenge you, someone that you trust, challenge who you are, challenge what you do. Sometimes it's your wife, but that doesn't work very well because they see who you really are. And you're like, my wife's like, you're not like that. I'm like, oh, come on, I am like that. And I'm like, no, it's a fight versus Thanks for the awareness. But I think there's this weird thing. I try to put myself in a position where it's so uncomfortable, and I say, like, who do you think I am? And if someone that I trust can speak to my soul, I have blind spots, and I go toward them. If there's something uncomfortable, I go toward it. If I'm something scared of, I go toward it. And then you grow. Like, I think about a little bit of it's because you're just talking about, I just love to explain this because people are like, yeah, we need to believe in ourselves. How does that do? Look in the mirror and say, I'm amazing, I'm amazing. That doesn't work. Belief is something when
It'll
you
work for 10
overcome
minutes.
something.
It'll work for 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. So what is that like? Drugs. And you're always hooked on that. That's why man, those people go to every single self-development course out there and they never change.
Yeah.
The drug. But the thing is, when you've overcome something really hard in your life, you can't take that away from me. I look you in the eye. You don't know. I do. Not an arrogant thing, but it's like, I've overcome that. I've overcome that. And then there's a compassion. And there's something going, hey, do you want to see how to do that? There's something. But I think that people, they don't want to face their real truth. And I think that's a big thing. They don't want to face that reality that they're not as good as they say they are, or maybe they're better than they say they are. It depends on which angle. So I think you got to run towards your fear, run toward the really hard conversations. We avoid, and try to build stuff around it. But I'm being the most dysfunctional guy I know for a long time before that.
There's
run toward it.
There's this question that Tim Ferriss always asks his guests. It's if you could get a billboard, put anything you want on it, what would it be? And for myself, I'll ask you what you will put on it. For myself, I would put on it, you are more powerful than you think you are. Because I think a lot of people have that self-doubt. I see it all the time because I work with the clients as well who are trying to build more for themselves. And the real estate is one thing. Really, in reality, they're trying to build more of a lifestyle. They want more time with their kids, so they're trying to build a business to support that, right? That's what they're really looking for. But then there's so much self-doubt.
Totally.
Right? So many people who think that you need special skills to do anything. Like you've done a lot of real estate, this isn't that hard, either as an agent or as an investor. It's really not that hard, especially if you're just trying to buy like 1 to 3 properties. It's kind of a joke, really.
It's pretty easy, yeah. Once you figure it out, yeah.
Or just have good guidance. Like, you have good people around you, it's really, really easy. And what you think are problems are not that bad.
It's just unknown, right? The unknown, it makes it look, you just get overwhelmed, yeah.
Yeah, but like, for example, I know people with like master's degrees. Like, there'll be a couple. No, I've had couples with like both PhDs, and like, oh, wow, I don't know this first property looks, it's like Mount Everest. Like, geez, you guys both have PhDs. This is not that hard.
So what you're proving is that the analytics and the logic do not solve the real problems in life. What it is their emotions, their fears. Where's this tied to their story? Did they lose money ever before? Have they had trusted people that they didn't trust before? What are they really saying? They're not saying anything about the investment. You got to look past that and go, what are they really saying? This is when you freaking hack those relationships in a way. Hack is such a bad word. When you tap into the real truth behind someone, and if you can speak to that, all of it becomes viral, or they run away. Like, holy shit, you see me, bye. That's good too, because they might think about that later. So when I see people, I don't see what they're offering. I have a hard time with that. It might be frustrating with some people, but I see who they really are. Like, why? So the answer is like, oh, it's so crazy. I have a PhD, which is maybe where they're hiding because they feel so stupid. I don't know. Like, I don't know their story, but you can figure out how to make them how they tick, and you can just be okay and say, I accept you that way. And they go, oh, safety. Now they open up, and now you take care of them. Like, so many, we all have that. I try to be who I am and be as open as I can. Like, and I feel like that sometimes can be quite intimidating to people, but it also can be very inspiring.
Yeah, the intimidating part for sure, because some people aren't ready to know that part of themselves, or willing to share or talk about it.
Yeah, like they just want to go, hey, I'm a bubbly person, and that's who I am. I look at them like, well, you're not really. Oh, you see that? Oh shit. Then that's a weird moment, right?
Yeah.
So it's very sensitive, and you have to be very kind and compassionate, or else you look very judgmental, and it comes across wrong. Which I've done both.
And to be fair, like, some of those people, they just have shit they can't deal with, and that's the face they put on.
So, it's a survival mode for this, and it always comes back to the story. Like, they've just kind of, like, it's always a little child in there somewhere with a story. And it helps me really not judge people that way. I still judge people. I try not to, but But it really, like, if you can connect to who they really are, and they may have not disconnected from that for years. That's like if you had to say what I do for a living the rest of my life, I'm just going to help people be who they really are. And if you want to know who you really are, I can help you kind of unearth that a little bit, and I can support you in believing in yourself.
Pretty
And
cool.
then you see people's incomes double, which is so cool. It's the craziest side effect I've ever seen. Yeah, relationships double, vacations double, the depth of the relationships. Some relationships just get broken up because they should never be in it. But when you start doing a self-discovery journey, like, it just seems so cliche now, but what I know I've seen happen, these people's lives are changed. And that's the starting point to the success that we are chasing. But we never can get to the level of success because we have barriers in our emotional makeup, in our mentality, in our narratives. These things are just stopping you from a very core level. I don't believe I need to be successful, but I'm going after success. Have fun. It won't work. You'll sabotage it.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I feel sad when I'm like, oh, you're doing so well. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're going to hit a cap. You're going to hit a cap because this is the level of belief that you believe. Or maybe your dad said you're going to fail someday. Maybe you promise you're going to be bankrupt just like me. One thing has to be unearthed. Figure that out. Now let's get back to being financially friggin' loaded. Like, that's fine, but just work it out.
So what would you have done differently, like, before the like the 41 properties in 14 months, the 61 properties?
I know.
What would you
Thought
have
about that
done
a lot.
differently?
If so, I guess, could I reframe the question? Tell me if I'm hearing it right. If I was to rebuild a real estate investment company, how would I do it
Yeah.
versus compared to how I did?
Yeah.
Okay. I spent a lot of time and years thinking about this. So first of all, I would not invest in the four cities. It's the first one.
Okay. Good question.
So,
Good. Great.
so we,
Great answer.
I can bring some tactics in, okay? Because I think we'll have a fair amount of depth here and emotional things. But tactically, I would invest in one city, and I would probably raise a lot of money for one project. Okay, so I did like 41, 61, like, holy shit, the management I created, the administrative nightmare that I was dealing with at 24 hours a day. I even built my own management company, cash flow, what do I call it? Cash flow property management. And I had, because I'm like, they can't do it, I can do it better. And I could. So I built a property management company. I had a cleaning company. I had, like, it was just layers upon layers of businesses. It was chaos. So first of all, I would literally, if I was to rebuy an investment, I'd probably buy a big one. And the second thing I would do is I wouldn't sell ROI,
Mm-hmm.
return on investment. What I would sell is the safety of your money, and the cash flow on a monthly basis that we're going to get is higher, but you're going to have to put a shit ton more money in. I used to talk about leverage to make the sale. If I was to redo it again, I'd say, look, instead of getting you to give 100 grand, it's 250 grand. And we're going to put 50% down. Well, that doesn't make a good investment. No, it's a very safe investment, because when we have to manage cash flow. And if you're going to have a portfolio and your cash is, if you can double your cash flow, but you have a lot more money in, the foundation is amazing that you can survive. You're talking about a man that went through the darkest recession that we've ever faced in the last 100 years. And I pray to God that doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would change it. I would change it a bit. I wouldn't go hyper. I was very risky. We'd do flips and we'd sell them before we even freaking flipped them. Like, it was like, oh, this is awesome. No, that's ridiculously risky. So I would raise a lot of money. And by the way, so easy to raise money. And I'd go into a big scale. Think about one set of books for one property at a $20 million property versus how many properties would that be? Let's just say 10 properties that I would have to do books for. So I would look at the administrative side of every single thing you decide to do as a business owner. Fuck, what is the admin that comes behind it? Because if you're an entrepreneur, you're most likely not admin. So you're going to have to hire that out, and you're going to be sucky at managing it. So just make it as little and easy as possible. So that's what I would do. And then I probably would do mixed. I get into a mixed commercial residential potentially, because then I've got the long-term anchor tenants. And I've also got maybe some other tenants, but I might be more commercial driven, than residential. But if I did residential, it's mega scale, because the property management companies that are 40, 50 units plus are going to be 10 times the quality as a management company that deals with basic little houses, because that business of property management on single family houses is completely flawed. Because if you look at it, you're making $120 per property, so $1,200 a month, we'll just average whatever. How many properties do you have to do to make a profit? And as you grow your inventory as a property manager, the admin gets more expensive. You're screwed. There's no money in it. So what do? Just fill them up easy. Just fill them up, because the only time they're getting paid is when they're full. So and then the people they got to hire, it's the worst job on the planet. Like it could be the worst job in our first world issues planet.
Yeah.
Is that they're not living in a garbage dump. There's obviously worse things, but it's a terrible job to chase money and chase tenants, put them in. So the people are jaded. So I would get away from anything to do with residential, single family residential, if I was going to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was going to tell someone to start investing, it'd be an up and down rental with a garage, and try that, because then they got 3 sources of income coming in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and because that's an easy one to do. And I would probably try to get a legal suite. If I was flipping it, I'd buy a piece of junk. I'd find an investor. I'd get them to pay the whole thing cash. Okay. Then what I would do is I'd renovate it, up its value, refinance it, pay this guy his money back, and maybe end up buying a property for 20 grand. By this all said and done, whatever I have to top off, and I'd own it. So I'd almost get it for free. So I would just repeat that system if I was doing that. Does that make sense? I moved really quickly there.
To me, hopefully everyone understands that.
Yeah, they can rewind it and listen again.
Yeah, listen to it again.
So I'll just go through it real quick. Buy the junker in the best area that potentially can put a legal suite in it. I would do that, have a garage. I would say it's worth 300 grand. We'll just play around here. It's worth 300 grand, so I get full financing, so I don't have any payments. And there'd be a balloon payment at the end to my investor. So I would have that come in. I would renovate it. I would get the bank to look at my property that's paid off in full. I'd get a mortgage, at least probably 80%. And hopefully by that time, maybe I can get a $375,000 mortgage, because I've upped the value. So I then pay 25 grand. So I get this guy's money back, and I got to up it 25 grand to top it off. And maybe I give him 10 grand for doing the deal. Is that better? Like maybe a little bit more explained. But that's how I buy a single family.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. But if it was building an investment company where I was raising money, I would not risk it. I would put I'd put way more down payment than I ever could imagine, and I'd create really good, sick cash flow coming off that thing. So we mitigate the risks during downturns.
Very cool. I'm glad I asked the question. Ben, we're running out of time, so
sure.
I feel it'd be wrong if we didn't address the question at least that started this conversation, this path that got you onto this podcast. So it was a burnout. Is there anything you want to discuss about or ask me about it? Because that's how it started.
Well, let me ask you a question then. So why does that question trigger you?
Why?
Because that's what that caused something to engage with me. Because you said that's the question that caused me to engage with you. So there's obviously a mirror happening, and there's something going on in you. So what is the burnout thing? So are you relating to that right now, or is that something you faced before?
Something I faced before. So you can see it. I have scars on my face from I had shingles at the age of 33.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I had chickenpox before. So every medical professional I saw was like, "This doesn't happen."
Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
No, this doesn't happen. This happens to people in poor health in their like late years, like 70, 80, right? And that was okay. Because I'm entrepreneurial. I hustle pretty hard, and I was at that point. And I've always been someone that tries to walk that edge. Like I can work another hour, and I'll steal that hour from sleep. And
totally.
You know, when I work out hard. Right, my body will adapt. Is my thinking. My body will adapt to this at this level of sleep, like 5 hours, and I do
just figure it out, right? Who cares, man?
Yeah, the body will figure it out. You know.
Whatever, man. I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and similar to like you're building your business, I didn't have much guidance, right? Like I was eating whatever I was eating, definitely not enough calories to support the working out I was doing, the amount of hustling I was doing to build the business up, and the limited amount of sleep I was getting, and the amount of stress I was getting as well, because I was in the middle of divorcing, in the middle of a marital breakdown, and
that's one of the biggest stresses that you can ever face.
Yeah. So some of the biggest stressors to ever happen in life are marital breakdown, moving, right?
Yeah.
Because your clients go through it, moving homes. Starting a new business, and on top of that, just more gasoline, doing CrossFit 4 to 5 times a week, and the way I operate is like back then is my workout's not over I finish the workout on my back on the floor in a puddle of sweat. So that's
Yeah. So it's
how
like
hard I
the
push.
same energy of like it's number one or it's not worth it. It's if you're not at that level, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's a really high pressure way to live.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't going for number one because I was nowhere near that.
Yeah.
But at
No,
least I
but you
would
know
give
what
it
I
my
mean, though.
all.
You go to your max. Go to
Yeah,
your max every
yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
walking that fine edge, and then
Yeah.
that's how I crashed. The
Wow.
body was giving up. I had shingles. At least, thank goodness, I caught it early.
Hmm.
I showed it to my dad actually. I said, I have some weird eczema that's going on. It's like going on all along my face and along my scalp, and it's really painful. And like he's like, that ain't eczema. That ain't eczema. You have
Wow.
shingles. So I was on medication quickly. And then my eyes swole up. Both eyes swelled up. So I could barely see. I could barely watch
Wow.
television. Like I couldn't work. I just laid on the couch for like 3 days, whatever
Hmm.
like that. But yeah, body gave up. That was burnout, and yeah.
And how was your recovery from burnout?
Uh, got me onto this journey of understanding myself better. Uh,
Beautiful. That's the beautiful side of it.
and that's what it is for someone who pushes limits. Because I've always pushed limits.
Yeah.
I've done lots of stupid shit. You know, I still do calculated risks. I do jujitsu, for
I like how you
example.
say that. Yeah.
Yeah, like you know, in jiu-jitsu, like I tap because someone's about to break my arm or I'm about to be choked out. I'm gonna pass out
Yeah.
from lack of oxygen to my brain, right? So I do shit like that. Right? So I don't know what it is, but I'm always interested in what my limits are.
Yeah.
And so I found
Yeah.
that limit, and now I'm on this path to fixing it all.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with burnout, the one thing I think, like I do coaching, right, with a bunch of people, and it's like there's one guy in particular that actually drove the question. I will not say his name, but I've told him to take one day off a week to work on his business, and he won't do it. He won't do it. And it's so frustrating. And I'm like, so I don't get frustrated at him. I'm just thinking, what is driving that? Why can't you just say no to making tons of money? And it's why can't you say no to four people?
Mm-hmm.
Four people that you're going to meet with and do your job. And it's outside of real estate. It's a company. And I'm going, why don't you? And so now after a while, now he calls and he's breaking down and his marriage is challenging. And it's like all these things. He's yelling at his kids. I'm like, dude, one day. I asked you to do one day off because I seen it coming. A burnout, in my opinion, is once you're there, you don't turn around in 2 days. I think at the cost, this is what I say, take a holiday for 10 days or burn out for 2 months because you can't get back in the game. At that level, you're talking F1 race car, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You're at F1 race car, full speed. You've missed the pit stop 3 times. If you would just freaking take that pit stop, you get new tires, you won't have a big accident.
Yeah.
And the accidents are what causes the problems. Now he's making decisions under burnout, and his decisions are thinking of selling the company. And he told me the deal he was going to give. I had to say, I'm like, dude, you are absolutely crazy. Your company's 10 times more value. Well, I'm just not an operator. Well, then find an assistant. Why haven't you hired an assistant? Let's do that. Like, and but I'm speaking to a man that has this massive filter of like lack of confidence all of a sudden. It just a complete wearing on him. And this is where my question did come from.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I'm watching this guy burn out. I'm going, and man, dude, I've been there and I've been burnt out. And it's like, and I still go hard. And I know my limits as much as I do, and I still push still. Like it's kind of like I just think, oh, I could do it. I could fucking do this. And I can. So there's this weird, like, you gotta consciously, it's almost like you're eating a steak and you left a couple pieces on there. Isn't that a good analogy? You just made that up. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Because who wants to leave that? Or it's like you got a bowl of ice cream and you got to leave a couple bites at the end. That's why I go so hard. Because there's a couple more bites in there. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But burnout is saying, I'm done. And you know there's a couple more deals. There's a couple more business. You just take a step back, right? And you go on a holiday. Go sit. If you're not doing 6 weeks of the year in some level of holiday, I think that you were going to be at a burnt out and you won't even know because your burnt out level and another guy's burnt out level could be different.
Mm-hmm.
But what it effects are so long term, they're hard to recover from. I think if we could understand that logically, we would actually go away and we'd be way more performance in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? That's kind of just where my question came from.
Mm-hmm. And to answer your question around like recovery, like I still think I'm recovering.
Yeah.
Right. Like that level of stress and what I was doing to my body did a number on my digestive system.
Wow.
So that's why I'm
That's
on this
amazing.
path of fasting the way I do, because I need to give my system time to recover from
Yeah.
the like I never ate that badly either, but
Hmm. But the stress, hey?
probably the stress and the lack of sleep. So sleep is recovery, right? Sleep is recovery. You don't sleep
Yeah,
enough, you
and
don't recover
and you
enough.
don't get the right chemicals released. And during the time of not sleeping, there's a chemical that is de-stressing chemicals.
Hmm.
Chemicals are actually
Hmm.
happening. So we live on what is that? Cortisone? No, is
Cortisol,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, cortisol is the hormone that's released. I think that's what it is. So I've actually shared before with my
yeah,
listeners, or long time ago. I had my cortisol test levels tested. So it's just a spit test. You do it four
yeah.
times in the day when you get up. I think noon, at mid afternoon, and before you go to bed. And I was like almost flatline. I
Wow.
wasn't able to produce cortisol because my body was just
Jeez.
exhausted.
That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And so
anyone who thinks they're burnt out.
how did your doctor say,
Uh-huh.
hey, this is what you need to do to get that chemical kicking again? Was it a medication?
Yeah, I was on not really quite medication. It was
Vitamin?
I was on I was trying to repair my adrenal glands,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
But then you can't just take stuff. You need to chill out.
Yeah.
You need to chill the f out. You need
So
to.
how much was your burnout tied to your mental pressure versus the physical pressure?
I don't. I think it's all played together. Because
They
you
all
know how
just
it
came
is. It's
together.
never just one thing, right? Like
Yeah.
when you make a sale, it's never just one thing that got you that sale, right? No different than
Yeah.
your health and your condition. It was piling on everything, right? Wait, like
Yeah.
four things going on, right? Marriage, moving to a new home, starting a business, physical exhaustion, right? Lack of
Just
sleep.
nailed everything. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just check everything, right? And
Yeah.
naturally, I'm a high stress person as well.
Hmm.
So that's so number six, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I still consider myself on this journey to of understanding my limits, and also I'm on this I call it a path to, because I don't have a better name for it, a path to like optimal health,
Yeah.
right? Trying to get my health the best it can be, so I have good
Yeah.
energy levels to. Because we were talking before, I don't know if we were recording or not, but like with sleep, and because
Yeah.
my feeling is I need enough sleep so that I'm good to be around for like my family. Because if I don't
Yeah.
sleep enough, I'm an ass.
I'm
I'm
a bit of an ass
cranky.
too when I don't sleep. Like that's
Yeah,
my reaction too. I can
yeah,
totally relate. And you look and really that's not you. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like, oh, like, well, oh geez, like why the fuck
hmm
you get? Come on, get out. Oh, what am I doing?
yeah, yeah,
And sleep is where that
yeah,
for me, I'm completely night and day.
yeah,
So that's where self-care, and if you truly love your family, you sleep. That's where you
yeah,
challenge yourself.
yeah,
Like if you really love them, you'll go to bed.
yeah. But like you said though, so many people are like, I'm doing this for them.
That's what I've said for
Right?
years, and it's true, but it's not. That's
Yeah.
the it's murky because
Mm-hmm.
you can't tell me I wasn't doing it for my family, but I can tell you there was a lot of selfish ambition, and my story was still being recreated. I was servicing my insecurities. I was trying to make someone happy, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the driving force was. It wasn't just it was a mix.
Mm-hmm.
There's bitterness in there because I'm a good dude,
Mm-hmm.
but it's mixed and it's right. Like it's we do it for our family. It's a great story, but it
Yeah.
might just be a story.
Yeah. But then, like, what? Yeah, you say you, and then you think you did those things for them, and then when you lose them, when you lose the
When
family
they
and the
say
wife,
that's not what we wanted, and you're going, what are you talking about?
yeah,
That's not what we wanted. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like we don't know each other's language
mm-hmm.
half the time.
Mm-hmm. and
What
and
what we really
and people just need to be honest. Like, is that what you want? Because I've brought up Elon Musk many times. Like, he's divorced at least twice, three
mm,
kids. There's no way he can see them enough considering his work schedule, right?
yeah.
But like, at least be honest with yourself. This is what you want, right? You are doing this for yourself, and you are okay with the
Yeah, just
outcome.
yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's don't say you're a good father if you're not. I'm not the best father. Just be real, you know?
yeah,
That's when
yeah,
you can actually heal and that's when you can actually grow.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
question I asked my wife today, and we do this on an ongoing basis. I asked her, we really lately it's just been amazing. It's been such an awesome relationship. And it hasn't been the easiest, but it's now starting to really jive. And I said, Renee, am I giving you everything emotionally, physically, mentally, a life that really serves what you need? And she says, no. It was today. And I said, well, I said, if you asked me the same question, I'd probably say the same thing. I'm not getting what I need out of a
Mm-hmm.
relationship from
Mm-hmm.
you.
Mm-hmm.
What a fucking cool conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so now we can have this conversation about, okay, what is it that you need? Where's it? But it's not like I'm not getting it and you're not. Like it's not. It's so cool to be proactive and just ask the question. Where am I not? Like, where am I not? Meeting your needs? And then we can have a conversation around it. And maybe she's just got her own filter. Maybe she just doesn't know how to receive love or whatever the thing is. It's not just because, oh, I'm not meeting her needs. It may be true, it may not be perspective, but to have conversations like that is like, that is that real honest conversation that we avoided. I had 2 honest conversations today that were uncomfortable, but that's the depth. That's how you get real. That's how you get that relationship locked in. It's like cementing it, but that it's uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah. It's continuous growth, right?
Yeah. You don't ever stop.
No one has a perfect relationship, marriage.
No such thing.
No such thing.
No such thing. Yeah. Nope. I think it's 2 people that love each other that are willing to do whatever it takes to make it work good. Someone that's not willing to do whatever.
And then the other side of it is, I think everybody's pretty messed up. There's no such thing as normal. No 100%. One's average. No one's normal. We're all we're all kind of weird.
Totally.
Right.
That everyone's got their quirks. Eventually, we'll find stuff that we like about each other. That's a hard part in a relationship.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's like, I like this guy.
And that's
why, if you get through that point and let each other be who they're supposed to be, like just let you be that way. Oh, really? Let me be that way? Well, maybe I like you again then. I don't know.
And then practicing gratitude. Like people, if you go down that path of just negativity, like picking apart what's wrong with your partner, you forget about like why you fell in love in the first place.
The only reason people pick apart their partner is because they're picking apart themselves. That's all. If you want if you want relationship advice, stop picking on yourself.
Yeah.
You'll stop picking on your partner. Start accepting who you really are, and you'll start accepting who they really are.
And it'll be help if you are fully rested.
And absolutely, the practical is go to freaking bed. Yeah. Don't start having deadly conversations when you're not on your game. Time it right. Go have some fun first. Go friggin' go-karting. Go do a hike. Do something. And then have a real conversation. Psychologically, there's all kinds of studies and science on how to let go of things that we hold on to. Is you do an emotional, do a lot of fun, raise the energy, go compete in a soccer match, and then sit down and say, here's where I'm at. So very tactical is you open up that energy flow where you're having a blast. Go do something. Go hiking. Do something. Then have the real conversation if you really want to give best odds.
Just give me an idea. I should book a date night. I was thinking maybe Laser Quest with the wife.
Yeah. Then if you can have some intentional conversation after, then it's cool. You bring some depth to it, right?
Yeah, my relationship is a little bit funny because she really is like my business partner. My wife's an accountant. She's a pretty successful one, and she's my investing partner. Like we are our business is really like 50-50. So we talk a lot of business.
Which is okay too, right? But if you bring in a real raw question, it'll bring some depth. Because when shit hits the fan, dude, your business conversations don't hold it together. Why not be proactive and talk about the hard shit now when you're doing good? Like we just wait. Then I'd have fun when you're pissed off and shit and financial and all kinds of problems, and then have that talk. Have fun. That's tough. But I want to be proactive on it.
All right. Ben, I've taken... Holy crap, it's almost 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock my time. So for the listeners who don't know, we had a whole bunch of technical difficulties before we actually got on. So Ben and I have been talking for like at least half an hour before we even started recording.
Cussing and swearing at my computer, but it didn't work. I had to get a new computer. So
Ben ran out and bought a new computer just for this show, so that you guys could hear this story. So
from Costco, because then you can return it, right? No. My assistant went home early, and I ended up taking. So that's how we worked it out. But anyways, yeah, we've been on for a bit.
So Ben, I want to say thank you. This has been very enjoyable for me, and hopefully for my listeners as well. It's not where it's not where I thought we'd end up, but it's pretty much every episode is pretty much not where I thought we'd go. I want to thank you for this. Hopefully you enjoyed your time on the show.